everyone, it's Gus Hamer here with Vinny Souza. Subscribe to Blades Rumble on YouTube. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I'm, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. We're also sponsored by B&B Auto Centres, and I thank them both for their support of this channel. So, this is a little bit old school Ramble, this. This is it's a recorded one for starters. It's not a live one. The Patreons are getting this first, and then it'll be rolled out everywhere. But I just wanted to jump on because there's rumours swirling everywhere about United. Look, I think we're all starting to grow a little bit, not frustrated. Some are frustrated. I know that because of the action in the group, but a little bit anxious about the lack of activity. We've still no clarity on some of the senior players in terms of their contract status, like McBurney, Egan. So on the Ramble, I'm always appreciative of people's opinions and understanding of their opinions. So I'm hoping that people don't go in too hard on me because this is my opinion. And, you know, it doesn't mean I'm right. It's just pitching for what I think is best for our football club. And it's only one man's opinion. That's all it is. So you're entitled to get in the comments and completely disagree if you want. But I would also, those that agree, let me know what your thoughts and why. So the talk of the town at the moment is, and I'm led to believe that it's fairly close, that we may well be taken over in the near future. We may have new ownership. With Prince Abdullah, the latest news being circulated is that he'll retain a 20% stake in the club. Now, that has yet to happen. And until that happens, there's no change. That is yet to happen. And until that happens, it doesn't help our current situation because we feel like we're in a bit of limbo. We're stalling on contracts and maybe incomings and things like that. I'd much rather we get the ownership resolved for the longer term benefit of the club. Don't get me wrong, there's bigger things than making sure a player's signed this week. But I would also say there's an urgency about this window like never before, and the manager's mentioned it previously. So that is one of the first points I'm going to come to, because today's video is my case for keeping Chris Wilder as the manager of the football club. And I understand people's concerns about Wilder. I understand they're unhappy with the way that his previous tenure ended, and some people can't shake that. I'm sure he accepts that. I don't know. I've not spoken to him about it. He came in just before Christmas and plenty of time to turn the season around in terms of time. For me, he didn't have the squad to be able to do that. And that might shift some blame back towards the ownership, but we all knew the situation before we went in. So I think although there was a glimmer of hope of keeping us up, it was always a real tough ask. And I think what the club has essentially done this season is banked on our long-term future rather than our immediate future, just to make sure we're secure going forward. You look at the improvements to the infrastructure that we've chosen to make instead of on the pitch, so that we have a bit of a legacy as to our recent success. And I understand that, whether we like it or not, whether we think we've gone too far into off-field improvements rather than on, is a different conversation. But in terms of Wilder coming in, I know he had January, and he brought in Ivo Gerbic blind, which I've rightly criticised him for. And I know not many people can defend that, can they? We were desperate for a new goalkeeper, in my opinion, as well. I don't think Wes is a Premier League goalkeeper. He came in to try and make a few of us look daft towards the end of the season, but it looks like now he's going to go and be third choice at West Ham. So make of that what you will. So Ivo Gerbic were an absolute disaster of a signing, and that's with all due respect to him, but it just hasn't worked. Mason Holgate, I think, was a fairly solid signing. I still think he's a good player, certainly will be at championship level if we choose to go down that route, which I'm not so sure we will do now, but we could. At Premier League level, not really done it for a significant period of time now, but I still think there's a player in there. I don't think it were a bad signing, to be honest. I think he got off to a really bad start with the sending off, but then proved to be okay for the large parts of when he performed in a United shirt. And the other one was Ben Brereton Diaz. A resounding success, I think it has to be said. I thought at first, when he first came in, we were going to have to alter our formation, which we did a little bit to try and accommodate Ben Brereton Diaz himself. But then we changed the formation because that wasn't working either. We kept trying to change it and trying new things. And he eventually adapted to the way that we played, which brought tremendous success in terms of that particular signing. So I don't think Wilder can be overly criticised for the January window. In January, you never get your best business done anyway. What he did do was made us a threat at the top of the pitch. I don't think our defence has been good enough. Also, we conceded 104 goals. It doesn't take a football scout. That don't make me an expert to say that our defence has been terrible this season. We conceded 104 goals. You're going to get relegated with that sort of defensive record. You could argue that he could have showed up the defence and sort of with basic organisation, even if you can't work on the individuals. I think a lot of Chris Wilder's traits previously has been getting the most out of players with limited ability, and that doesn't mean they're poor footballers. It just means they're not the tip top of the Premier League, but he gets them to their absolute potential. And that didn't happen this season, but we did start behind the 8 ball. We'd already been hammered 8-0 by Newcastle, and I think personally that is what killed off our season. Any sort of momentum we were trying to build before then, where we were in games, we just got beaten at the end, and it wasn't meant to be this year. And I think he's started from a really tricky spot. I would be judging Chris Wilder personally from the first half of next season, because we have got a heck of a job on now. We have got to rebuild almost an entire squad. Some of these players should have been cycled out earlier, and they haven't been, and I understand why. But now it's come to a head where we're losing absolute talisman like George Baldock. We might lose Ollie McBurney. We've lost Ollie Norwood. John Fleck's left the squad this season. Chris Basham leaves. These players have done brilliantly for the club. Some of them are absolute icons, and we need to replace them now. We know we're not going to get the best of the best. We know we're not going to go out and drop 10 million on each position or even 5 million on each position. So we've got to be smart about it. Who is the man that we know can, and I'm not saying it's happened in recent times, can spot a player? A lot of people are concerned about when Wilder's got money, we waste it, because I've heard that in countless corners. Absolutely, Rhian Brewster is the prime example of that. Some would say Ollie McBurney at £20 million is an example of that. Others might say, Lys Mousset, I know he signed for 10 million quid, but he earned his money. He earned that price tag. For that short little purple patch that he had in the Premier League, he was a resounding success in terms of what he brought to the club. I concede at swapping Callum Robinson for Ollie Burke. There's been a few busts, and I think he'd hold his hands up to that. Having said that, it's massively outweighed by the success stories that Chris Wilder's had, particularly when we've been under pressure financially. And we're not necessarily going to be under so much pressure this time, but we've got to be sensible because there's so much business to do. What I lost from this season in the Premier League was a connection to the players, and that it felt like it was starting to pull a little bit, particularly when people are leaving early, and it doesn't seem like the players care as much. There's the odd exception. Jack Robinson stands out, obviously. Ollie Arblaster is a blade through and through, and he's a success story in what is a very poor season. Gus Hamer just got better and better as the season went on, but the majority of players let us down this year. And what Wilder will be able to do is identify the DNA of a player that we want playing for this football club. And that, for me, is absolutely huge. Yes, it's about ability, but it's also about players that want to play for the club, want to play for the shirt. And I'm not saying another manager can't do that, but we know that Chris Wilder can. So while there's already plans afoot, I understand that we're in the midst of a takeover, but we cannot afford to lose much more ground in terms of signings. Why not let Wilder have the reins for the first third of the season? Even if you're desperate to change him, just give him a little bit of wiggle room to show what he can do. He went in at Middlesbrough, made an immediate impact, and then tailed off as he tried to again bring in quality players and sort of revamp the squad the following summer. And then as soon as they gelled a little bit, they started to pick up some momentum, and Michael Carrick has ridden the wave of that. He's the only manager in recent times not to be sacked by Watford because his contract came to a natural end. His record gets laughed at in terms of since he's left Sheffield United the first time. It's not as bad as what people would make out. So I think Chris Wilder is the man to lead this rebuild. And if it doesn't work, then fair enough. But we need to build a squad. We need somebody in now to get plans underway. We cannot afford to wait 4, 5, 6 weeks for a takeover to be complete, then another 4 weeks for a manager to be appointed. We haven't got that luxury. And because of the situation the football club's in at the minute, action is needed now. So while perhaps opinions are split on Wilder, I actually think time is with him a little bit. And I hope that the fact that we are under so much pressure time-wise to get things done, he gets that little bit of time to put it right and be given the opportunity to rebuild our club. That's my opinion. I know you all knew this were coming. I'm pro Wilder, as you know. I can't shake what he's given us in the past, nor would I want to. Get your comments in down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you to everybody for the support. I really appreciate it. Exciting things happening for the channel, so keep it Ramble. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade! Ramble on!